Hard to believe, but it's been nearly 2 years. 2 years since Hamas terrorists brutally murdered more than 1,200 innocent Israelis. It was October 7th. President Trump warns time is running out to get a deal done. Now Fox is exclusively learning about Hamas's direct appeal in a letter to the president. They want President Trump to step in. What is that deal? Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst has details. He joins us live for an update from Israel. Trey, what could you tell us?
Yeah, hey, Brian, good morning. Fox News has learned from a senior Trump administration official and a second source directly involved in the negotiations that Hamas has drafted a personal letter to President Trump asking him to guarantee a 60-day pause in the fighting in exchange for immediately releasing half of the hostages being held inside Gaza. We understand this letter is currently with the Qataris and is expected to be delivered to the president this week. Remember, there are still 48 hostages being held by the terror group inside the Gaza Strip. It's estimated around 20 are believed to be alive. And the negotiations were moving forward. But earlier this month, the Israelis launched airstrikes against Hamas inside the Qatari capital of Doha. They have been stalled ever since. But officials hope this letter will help to jumpstart the conversations and ultimately get President Trump directly involved to try and reach an agreement to get the hostages home and end this war.
It's interesting that, do you think on some level, Hamas, who follows media closely, has noticed the relationship the hostages and their families have with the American president? Is that part of the strategy here?
Absolutely. Look, Hamas and everyone in the Middle East understands that President Trump is a deal maker. He wants to see an agreement that would ultimately end this conflict, bring the hostages home, alleviate the suffering for Palestinian civilians, and stabilize the Middle East. And President Trump has been very clear since the October 7th massacre that we saw here on the ground in Israel that he wants peace in the Middle East. We saw the Abraham Accords, and ultimately the hope here in the region is that if a ceasefire is reached inside Gaza, you'd not only bring the hostages home, alleviate the sufferings for civilians, but enter into a new chapter where more deals can be made to have some level of stability across the region.
How significant is it that they feel as though they're better off dealing with President Trump than Netanyahu?
It's significant. And look, the president has been able to bring a lot of wars to a close around the world. He's been able to de-escalate a lot of tension in the region. There are conversations taking place with Syrian leadership right now to reach some sort of normalization agreement with Israel. But his Middle East team, specifically Steve Witkoff and Adam Bowler, have been leading the charge here to try to get some sort of agreement together. The war in the Middle East, specifically inside the Gaza Strip, has been going on for more than 700 days. The president has met directly with the families of these hostages that are being held by the terrorist organization inside Gaza, some of them in the tunnels beneath Gaza. He's also talked about the need to bring people together and bring people to the table. And so it's a challenging path forward here, understanding the regional tension following these Israeli strikes against the Qatari capital, targeting Hamas there. But also, there are questions about how this war will come to a close. Israeli forces right now are battling Hamas on the ground inside Gaza, focusing on the largest city in the Gaza Strip. But they're also looking at the possibility of expanding operations. And we've seen the demonstrations here in Israel, thousands of people in the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem demanding a deal. And you see the signs that they are holding. They are pleading with President Trump to use his negotiating power to reach an agreement.
Last question real quick on leverage. President knows all about leverage. Is it because they're closing in on Gaza City that the Hamas is doing this Hail Mary? And I know they wouldn't use that term. Or do they feel fortified by countries like France saying, I recognize the existence of a Palestinian state? Who's got leverage?
Look, the Israelis have some level of leverage. They have ground forces deep inside Gaza, and they have a number of tank units with air support. They are striking the Gaza Strip so heavily every day that sometimes you can hear it in cities like Tel Aviv, nearly 40 miles to the north of the Gaza Strip. But when we look at the situation on the ground, we also have to look at the negotiating table, and that's where President Trump has leverage. He's made comments in recent days saying he does not want to see Hamas in control of Gaza, and he wants to see the hostages released.
Exclusively, just to recap, a letter directly to Trump in the hands of Qatar that should be at the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or where the president's going to be on Tuesday in New York. Trey, thanks so much. I know it's your day off, but I know this story is important and nobody better to deliver it. Thank you, Trey Yingst. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.